This is the limestone lowdown. Hear the sound when you lie through the issues all around. From every corner, let's make it clear. The change we need is starting here.
Hi everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Limestone Lowdown. Today we're going to cover the January 12th, 2026 City Council meeting. That's still hard to believe, isn't it?
I know.
Like, wow.
It's 2026.
I know. We've attended several things here recently, and people are still saying 25, 25,
well, I wrote
25.
25 on a few things for work. I had to fix it, so.
So I would like to start with last week's episode. I said the potential for bid fraud on something related to Krebs Engineering, and we got some more information that apparently under Title 41 and 39 that governs competitive bidding, that would not be the case, that it wouldn't have to be bid out like I was thinking, like a normal, like a road project, normal construction project. That is not the case, so I would just like to throw that out there.
We're trying to, one of the things is that we're learning stuff like each week and how stuff goes. I mean, obviously, like we have other jobs, and so we're able, as where you get time, we're able to kind of dive in, and I think that also kind of goes back to the transparency. Like if they would just be more transparent, like all of this got started because when we would ask questions, they wouldn't give us the answers to.
Well, this firm has been chosen several times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's like, wait a minute, why is that not bid out like the rest of them?
Yeah,
bid
and
out?
I mean, if
so
there's
that's where it came
if there's
from.
a provision that allows that, then great, so be it. I know that one of the things that we have found in the last 2 years, diving further into this, because we're working with people like all across the state, all different counties and cities all across the state of Alabama, and how the same issues are going on all across the state, that Alabama is kind of set up to be able to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for, like help their buddies out, as everybody says, the good old boy network. And it's just kind of become like a term, but in reality that's what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't say that just in Athens or Limestone County. That's going on everywhere, all across the state of Alabama. Someone even said that Alabama's like in the top 5 most corrupt states. So it's just very interesting how like those rules and regulations and like state codes are even set up within those parameters. So just one of those things, like for clarity, like there's a lot of things that like we may say and someone may interpret it a certain way, and I think with just the potential, when using the word potential, we were not making those accusations. So just to clear that, Jared gave you where that was cited from. So anyways, as we move into December or January, see, look at me, back in 2025, January 12th, 2026. So we had there was a full house. There was quite a few people there. There was 2 news stations that were there.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Woodruff with the NAACP, he was there. I think he was there with 19 was there because of
Correct.
him.
Yes.
They were talking about the Bonnie Doon subdivisions and those conditions. And, I don't even know if they've torn that down yet. I know that they've done.
I know. We haven't rode past there in a while.
Yeah, I know that people were talking about. There was a city council meeting a couple months ago, where they were going to do the public nuisance, where they were going to ban
And then somebody came and spoke about it, but it wasn't it's probably been 6 months ago now.
Well, that's 2 separate things. So they were condemning that one building, the burned building.
Yes.
And then there was someone else that was talking about the actual conditions.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Him coming and talking is probably, goodness, 6 months ago now. Yeah. And then that was probably 4 or 5 months. Yeah. It was like the next month or the next month what you're talking about.
Right, yeah. So
it's in the works.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else about it, but yes.
And then, so was there, what was the other, was both of the news stations there for that?
I assume, because there was nothing, we had to leave a little early, so we missed the end of it.
So we'll just go right into it. So there was, 3 public hearings. One was for the zoning approval to sell alcohol, the Logan's Roadhouse.
So anytime, even though the Logan's has been here for years, anytime there's a change in ownership, it has to be redone. I'm guessing in that particular whoever owns
that
its
with
name.
Like the gas station.
Yes, so this is something happens all the time.
And then there was a public hearing related to a proposed resolution fixing and assessing costs associated with the abatement of a public nuisance located at 310 Hines Street.
Yes, and there was lots of comments on that.
Like 3.
Well, I'm saying the owner was there and he spoke.
Yeah.
You asked a question about it, and then other questions were asked, and it was like apparently $9,000+ to clear off the land.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So the owner, Mr. Reedus, who owns the barbershop right across the street, was there. And apparently it's a known depression. It's not a flood area. And he had put some rocks. He put some rocks to try to kind of help it out, but it was flooding an adjacent property, and that's where all this came from. The city went and checked it out. Mr. Griffin's, so let's talk about Mr. Griffin for a second.
Well, let's finish this, and then we'll talk about it.
So he got up and spoke all about it. And he agreed.
The lady turned it in. She's the one who reported it.
Not the city, but the lady who has the adjacent property. He was saying how the rocks took up volume. Mr. Griffin said that it took up volume. The property owner said he didn't really agree with the assessment of the city, and he's like, "Well, it's on both our properties, so if I'm getting charged, shouldn't she be charged some too? Because you when you guys came out, you did something on both our properties." So he spoke in that. They just did their normal thank you and then voted. Here's your bill for $9,000.
Yeah, so Mr. Reedus also got up and he brought a picture, or he referenced a building that was on Elm Street too that the city owns, and was like, so you're coming after my property, but then there's this that the actual city owns. And I think that's where they kind of went into, well, we don't have time to go after every single property. And so it's like once it gets reported, that's how things start getting somewhat investigated. And then Mark got up and, of course, did his Mark thing and was talking about conditions of Northtown and the houses that Chris Seibert owns. And I got up and just made a comment because when the owner got up and spoke, they just looked at him and said, thank you. I don't even know if they said thank you, but I just got up and I was like, is there going to be a follow-up? And it's just funny that Chris Seibert, when I got done speaking, and I literally just got up and said, hey, is there going to be a follow-up? Like, I know I've been coming to these meetings for a while now, and I know how this works. Like, this is just like the formality. And since he kind of explained his situation, like, is there going to be like a follow-up? That was it. Thank you. And walk back. And as I'm walking back, Chris Seibert's like, oh, they've already done all that beforehand. Oh, okay. But I can give Mr. Creasy, which again, he's probably our favorite city councilman at this point.
He's taken over Mr.
Wells. Yeah. I mean, even though we know that him and Seibert are really good friends, nonetheless, he's always very nice to us. And he does ask questions, like follow-on questions a little bit, just like for more clarity. Again, there's usually not a lot of people. I mean, 5 or 10 people in city council meetings, and that's it. And so I know it like throws a kink in their agenda whenever we're there, ask questions, or have a podcast about it or something. So.
I know, right? Goodness, people ask questions and have like opinions on stuff. Goodness.
So, then the next public hearing was related to the request by AT&T to grant a special unit permit to construct a new wireless telecommunication facility and install their equipment at 1250 East Sandifer Road.
And apparently, if you live out in the Tanner area, that's going to help your AT&T tremendously when this gets built and in place. And we also learned that if the tower is, 150 feet and below, it doesn't have to have lights on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fun fact.
So then we go into the regular meeting. So there was resolution reappointing Ray Meese to the Health Authority Board of Athens Limestone Hospital for a 6-year term.
And he is the vice president sales officer at Bank Independent. this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yet he's on the Health Authority Board.
Yep.
Okay. Resolution to approve travel expenses for the personnel of the electric department for $582.98. Resolution to approve reimbursable contributions of $150,000 towards a pipeline feasibility study through the North Alabama Public Energy District.
So on that, speaking with someone at the gas department, we are at the end of the line. So at any time Huntsville decided they needed more, or they needed to redirect it, or however that worked out, they could start winding us down. And since we're at the end of the line, we couldn't really do anything about it. So I think this is a great thing if we can get a new pipeline, more options. You know what I mean? That's just great for everybody.
So the next two are the ordinance amending the Athens zoning ordinance. These were the ones that were the public hearing from the last city council meeting.
Yep.
Ordinance to exempt certain covered items from the municipal sales tax. So basically, tax-free weekend, third weekend in July 2026. Resolution to approve an agreement with Motorola Solutions concerning an ongoing maintenance for the P25 communication system.
And I think that deserves a second. They said this system was 10 times better than what we had back in 2011. They said that there's so many systems and poles and everything else down that there was really a lack of communication, that like the fire department, police department, the county EMA, nobody could talk to each other. So now with this, they can. So that's, great improvement.
Next is, they pulled this one from the agenda because it wasn't ready, but it's the ordinance concerning the coordination and management of facilities in the public rights of way. So that one was pulled. So the next one is resolution authorizing the mayor to award the lowest responsible bidder, Grayson Carter and Sons, in the amount of $147,049.21 for the construction of the pedestrian bridge at 72 and Hine.
Which was interesting because that's the same exact verbiage, same exact total, same exact everything from the November 24th, 25 city council meeting.
And I got up and spoke on the agenda items, and instead of being like, oh, well, the mayor was rude and was like, you need to ask Michael Griffin that. Michael Griffin actually stood up and was like, yeah, I was wondering the same thing. And then it was kind of like forgotten about that I said it. But when they did do this during the actual meeting, Mayor Marks did tell the city clerk that, if it was a duplicate, I guess to pull it or notate that or something. But this was literally the exact same. I mean, we passed it already for the exact same amount on November 24th. So yeah, so just a little bit of tidbit of info that we just saw that it was duplicated. So, and then resolution authorizing the city engineer to enter into an agreement with Morrell Engineering for topographic surveying and permitting work on 72 and 65 at a price not to exceed $25,000 from the 2024 warrants fund. And then there was an add-on item. So since the new team, I guess, has taken office in November, Mr. Harper was on the Solid Waste Authority Board, and they have appointed Mr. Creasy to that. So that was all that was on the agenda this time. There was a few, I think, people that got up and spoke. Mr. Beasley from Athens Library, he got up and he was talking about...
He gave the same speech that he gave at the... county commission about how he bought a gift card for books and how much a book is worth today, how much they cost, and how many visitors had just gone through the roof. And I think was it $4+ million in loan to inventory from the library. So you can go rent it versus buying it and support your local library.
Yeah. And then Justin was there for the pool again. And then Mark got up and spoke, and I'm sure it got
called out about the houses, Cyber's houses again, and everything else. But I think another interesting was the mayor read a statement about the cannabis. So if you would like to to go over that a second?
Well, he was just talking about that, in the state of Alabama. So there was something that passed back in 2021 that basically said that we couldn't have medical cannabis dispensaries here. And then in 2022, in November of 2022, the city actually passed an ordinance saying that we will allow it once the state of Alabama. So basically, they're setting all of this up so that when the state approves it, they didn't know when that was going to be, but in November of 2022, and there was already one of the vendors, which was GP6 Wellness. They had already approved for them to come to Athens. And then Mr. Wells started second guessing it, and that was back in like June. They held a special city council meeting just particularly for this. Chris Seibert abstained in November of 2022. He abstained again, and it was a split vote. So instead of it being it was unanimous in 2022, November 2022, in the summer of 23, it was Mr. Harper and Mr. Wells, and then Dana Henry and Mr. Lucas voted for it. And then since there wasn't a majority, it stood. So basically it's kind of just been in waiting. And then in December of 2025, the state of Alabama Cannabis Commission said that they were going to allow so many licenses across the state. And then with those licenses, they could have like 3 or 4 dispensaries per license. So we will end up having, I think it's like 12 dispensaries across the whole state. One of those will be in Athens, and it's the same one, the GP6 Wellness, that was passed back in 2022. So they set all of this up just as a waiting game for when this did pass. Ironically, I had even we had heard about this cannabis meeting on December 11th, and there was a city council meeting on December 8th, I believe, and I asked if any of the council or the mayor or anyone had any sort of information on the status of what was going on within Athens with that. And
what did they say?
No, that they hadn't heard anything, which I just find it kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's be honest.
Like, we don't ask a question that we don't 99% of the time
Look
know
at
the
that.
answer to. So it just kind of all fell into place. 3 days later, this was the Cannabis Commission held their meeting, and they announced that, lo and behold, GP6 Wellness was one of the licenses that got approved in the state. And lo and behold, one's going to be here in Athens.
And it's already got an address and everything else. So it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
And the city's still claiming they don't know anything about it.
That they didn't know, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So then we also found it a little bit more interesting, so that when back in 2024, when we started all of this, we came across a state business license registered to our, city councilman, Mr. Chris Seibert, Red Clay Farmaceuticals. And that was in preparation for when cannabis became legal across the state, that was kind of like the formation of it, right? The pre-planning.
Mm-hmm.
And once the Cannabis Commission passed these licenses, we did a FOIA request asking about Red Clay Pharmaceuticals, if they had heard anything, if there was any sort of involvement or correspondence with this Red Clay Pharmaceuticals, which Chris Seibert is linked to. So we did a records request back in December asking for any sort of involvement, and on January 2nd, the response from the Cannabis Commission, according to our records, an entity named Red Clay Pharmaceutical LLC submitted a request for business application on October 14th, 2022. We have no record of the entity submitting an application, and we have no other records documentation related to the entity. So here's the thing. They were accepting basically application requests until December 31st, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yes. So our question is, you set up all the framework for it, And I guess to hopefully be chosen, if we're reading down the same lines, is because the people that asked for the dispensaries, you didn't know if you were going to get one or not, because a whole lot of people, ask to try one. So we're just assuming that this is the same thing with people that are actually growing it, that you kind of throw your hat in the ring to grow it, and you may or may not be chosen.
Yeah.
Or this could still be pending, because this is all so new.
Yeah.
This could still be pending.
Yeah.
We literally don't know. We're literally just bringing the fact up,
that
the
he
framework.
Was linked to, that he was behind the scenes. So there was the Alabama Cannabis Commission that opened up the licensing window, and you had until December 31st of 2022 to get your application, I guess, and they've requested that, right?
Yep.
So there's nothing of that going on in the state of Alabama then. Fast forward to now, they've allowed these licensings for dispensaries, but with those dispensaries, you have to have a doctor. It's not the way that Ronnie Marks is it's like a pharmacy. You have to have the prescription. But then we already knew that GP6 Wellness was going to come here. So the way the optics of it appear that he has some sort of connection or communication.
A glass ball and
no, I mean the facts is that it appears that he is working with GP6 Wellness or the Cannabis Commission. I mean, wouldn't you say?
Somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody that knows.
Yeah.
He definitely, you have to say there's definitely foreknowledge of this, because the public didn't know any of this stuff going on.
Yeah, they just literally wait till this stuff, because, I mean, even on December 8th when I asked about it, they played dumb.
Yeah.
Now, most people may not have known about it. I mean, even Ronnie Marks may not have known, because he's the one that chose to answer, to say that you would have to go through all of these things within the state. But if you are doing something for personal gain,
you're not going to announce it.
You're not going to announce
hey,
it.
Look at me. Right. Woo!
And so it just gives all appearances, especially when you started an LLC in August of 2022. And 2 months later, you submit to the Alabama Cannabis Commission for a license. And then the very next month, the city votes that whenever the state legalizes this, that they can come to Athens. So that's from August to November. So within a 90-day period, you've got a sitting city councilman who has done all of these things. So anyways, again,
things that make you go,
yeah, it's not saying he did or didn't. He did in fact have an LLC that he started in August. That same LLC got with the Alabama Cannabis Commission requesting for a license. You had to request that license before December 31st. And then in November, the very city that he represents and works for passed an ordinance that whenever the state allows this, that they are already working with a pharmacy, basically a medical cannabis pharmacy, to come here.
And then the state kind of pumped the brakes on it until December of last year.
But
so this is all recent.
But then it also makes you, just like we were talking about within the state being so corrupt. Did they spend these last few years just setting it up? Because they only chose 4 licenses. So it just, again, it makes you they wanted to streamline it. They wanted to put the safeguards on it, things like that. But it would just be interesting when you're way behind the scenes, at the Montgomery level.
Absolutely.
Who are connected? Who are your silent partners in this? Who is linked to each one of those.
Exactly.
I mean, that goes on. I mean, this goes on at a national level. I mean, why do you think that we have politicians that at a national level that came in worth $50,000 and now they're, worth $50 million and their job pays, $150,000 a year? It really makes no sense if you aren't part of some business venture that you are using your position to set up. So when we talk about ethics violations, there's ethics violations, I'm sure, that goes on across the state and across the nation.
But we've said, I can't do anything on a national level
right.
whether I agree with it or not.
Right.
I'm more limited on the state, what I can do. But you know what I can do? I can do something here. And if you would like more information, if you would like it spelled out further, you can go to the limestonelowdown.com.
Yeah.
And the article's there.
Yeah, we did. We posted an article on Facebook and then put the link out there, but I just kind of want to read this section to you. about the ethics violation being in black and white. So Alabama law is unmistakably clear on public officials and conflicts of interest. Alabama Code 3625-5A, no public official shall use an official position or office to obtain personal gain for himself or any business with which the person is associated. And then Alabama Code 3625-9C, no public official shall vote, attempt to influence, or participate in any matter in which he or she has any financial interest. So, I mean, that to me just kind of
solidifies it.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, absolutely. And then it's kind of like we're going to end this episode with how we ended the article and say, it's funny, you went to all that work to do all that stuff, yet we're supposed to believe that he didn't know that he was supposed to have business license for his LLC within the city of Athens for 12 plus years.
Yeah. It just goes back to the very people that make these city laws are the ones that were not following them, but yet, you know, he wants to claim he knows all of this, just like when I ask about, like, hey, are they going to follow up on the condemning that property? And I was like, are you going to follow? They've already done that beforehand because, you know, he knows so much, but yet we didn't know that we had to have city business licenses for our, like, 80 rental properties.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, just thought that was interesting, and thank you guys for listening. So, till next time, guys.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Limestone Lowdown, where we break down the issues, keep you informed, and give you facts straight from the source. Remember, your voice matters, your vote counts, and your community thrives when we stay engaged. Stay tuned, stay informed, and stay involved. Until next time, keep questioning, keep advocating, and keep shaping the future of the Limestone area. We'll see you on the next Limestone Lowdown.